Welcome in to the latest episode of the Need for Seeds College Basketball Podcast, presented by the pregame.com podcast network. I'm your host, the real underscore G Warner, joined by Big East Ben. We went 0-2 on our best bets on last week's episode, but we're still 22-13, 63% this season. Big East Ben checking in at 11-7, 61%. One half game behind yours truly, 11-6, 65%. I made the mistake of playing the full game on our podcast last week, the under. UCLA visiting Illinois. Sailed under first half, which at this point, if you're playing unders, I feel like first half is the way to go. If not your entire unit, at least splitting it in half. Incredible second half from UCLA after looking like they were dead halfway through the first half. But we can get into that game a little bit more if there's some interest. And Big East Ben gave out Creighton, who I think were up 14 at one point, maybe up 11, something nice. And they could not hold on to I guess a lot of excuses about sickness to Ryan Kalkbrenner and I don't know the rest of the team, or it might have been just be the Liam McNeely show as he dropped 38 points, had 10 rebounds, and maybe he might have mattered at Big East, Ben.
Well, you wouldn't know it because the coach just made it all about himself with his childish post-game antics, waving bye-bye and calling another patron Baldy. So you wouldn't have known it, but yeah, Liam McNeely had a really great game. Again, good luck, UConn fans. I know you guys are still UConn Twitter. You're very positive about this team for some reason. If you think that you're going to get an act of God from solo ball or a Liam McNeely game, and if you face a team that plays a lick of defense, you're going to be turning the ball over 20 plus times. Good luck in the tournament. Okay. Good luck in the tournament. I think this UConn team is headed to, what happened the year before this incredible run happened. That was a 5-12 game against New Mexico State, which they ultimately dropped. I hope I'm right because they love to remind you of when you're wrong about that team, but that's what I'm forecasting.
Yeah.
Also, Alex Karaban, maybe the worst preseason All-American of all time in the history of the sport.
He's on quite a shooting slump. I was gonna say streak, but opposite of streak. And he did a great job defending when UConn decided to give up on playing big men because they were all in foul trouble. And he was essentially, I don't know how Creighton was able to feed the post with 7-footer Ryan Big Cock Kalkbrenner in there hosting, posting up literally every possession the entire time. I guess the flu-like symptoms or whatever he was dealing with, because he did have mono last year. I don't think you get the kissing disease twice in 2 seasons, but you never know for Big Cock in Omaha. But I think at this point, I don't really know. Like, have you changed your tune? So you're saying that they still are going to go out early, but we do know that UConn teams seem to peak late in seasons. They are certainly a lot more healthy, even though Solo Ball's injury, hand injury, and I think that makes the win in Omaha even that much more impressive.
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously talented, but I mean, comparing to past UConn teams, Hassan Diarra is not Tristan Newton. Alex Karaban is not Jordan Hawkins. There's no Donovan Clingan. So there's no, I mean, Liam McNeely is a great defender, probably on par with Andre Jackson, and it's a better offensive game. But again, they're winning games with these one of those two guys going off, McNeely or Solo Ball, and that's not sustainable in March.
I would agree. I think they're going to have to win games handily or get those two guys just to play out of this world. And it seems unlikely that'll continue, especially against better competition and maybe against a team that's a little bit better defensively than Creighton. Though, honestly, the Creighton strategy is to funnel everyone, deny 3-point shots, funnel everyone into Kalkbrenner inside, and that certainly wasn't working on, I think it was Tuesday night. So we're going to go through 5 games on today's or Saturday's college basketball card for this weekend, Valentine's Day weekend. And we know at Big East Ben's got a hot date, so we got to get him out there pretty quickly. Plus, we'll have a promo code end of show, and let's see where we can go
Can you
starting.
hear me okay? My
So
mic's on.
okay. Does it say it's selected as that's what you're going through? If you go to video settings and then to audio, just tell me what the mic says.
Yeah, Yeti. It's the Yeti. So it's not coming through.
No, no, it just sounds a little bit different than normal, but maybe I'm just hearing things today. Um, so let's go to, we got a pretty big slate. We got Auburn, Alabama on our list, Houston, Arizona, Wisconsin, Purdue, Michigan State, Illinois, and a Mountain West game as well for Mountain West Bend to come out of the get off the chains and get out from under the staircase. We'll start. Let's see, where should we start? Let's go to I think my favorite one on this list is, I mean, do we leave the most dramatic game till the end, or do we just start there? You
Yeah,
know,
let's start there.
let's start there. The most dramatic game on our list, Wisconsin at Purdue. I'll give you a current number on this one, assuming that I actually spelled Wisconsin right. I did not. Wisconsin, 5-point underdogs at Purdue. Most dramatic game on our list, totals 149 and a half.
The Badgers have played very well away from the Kohl Center. They're 9-2 against the spread in true road games. That's got to be one of the top teams in the country within that metric. Covered against the likes of UCLA on the road, against Illinois on the road. They are three-ball dependent, which you don't like with the road team, but they are number one in the Big Ten in three-point shooting. Purdue's kind of the opposite. They do more of their damage inside, very two-point reliant. Number one, 2-point offense in the Big Ten and highest distribution of their points from 2-point field goals. A lot of those Braden Smith floaters you'll see throughout a game.
Mm,
Um,
great neck beard.
so again, tough to handicap this from a spread perspective. Both teams are awesome overall against the spread. Wisconsin 14-10 overall. Like I said, 9-2 on the road. Boilermakers 15-10. They're 10-3 at Mackey. But that total number is sticking out to me, Griffin. The total number is sticking out to me. The 147 and a half. Is that what you have it at?
Even better, 149 and a half.
149. Oh, so okay. So both defenses are very good. Both defenses are very good. Purdue owns the second best defense in the Big Ten. Wisconsin owns the third best defense in the Big Ten. Neither team plays at a crazy tempo, and they kind of cancel out what each other does best. Purdue is the third best three-point defense in the Big Ten. Like I said, Wisconsin's three-point dependent. Wisconsin, very solid interior defense, number two in the Big Ten in two-point field goal percentage. I'm going under 149.
Under 149 and a half for Big East Bend. I'll lay the 5 points with Purdue. To me, boiler up, boiler up, boiler up. I don't want to fade that team in their home stadium. We've seen them absolutely eviscerate Michigan, who's currently leading the Big Ten. And this is a big game for Purdue, assuming they don't allow a really insanely hot 3-point shooting streak in the second half, like they did in their loss to Ohio State at Mackey. It's a big game for Purdue to potentially get back into the swing of winning the Big Ten. Michigan, especially, has a really tough schedule down the stretch. So a big win here, I think, will put the onus on Michigan to continue winning, especially after a loss in Ann Arbor. We'll move next to the second most dramatic game on our list, and that will be Boise State and San Diego. Currently, the latest one of the games we'll discuss in this episode, but Boise State only 1.5-point underdogs on the road. Looks like it's probably +1 across the market. Totals 136 in this matchup.
I'm just like losing my mind at work emails and
On Valentine's
like,
Day,
the lack of skill set that people at my company have to do anything is unbelievable. Um,
not all of us are CFAs.
Elon Musk needs to look at the corporate sector for efficiency as well. What game were we talking about?
Uh, yes, we were looking at the soda emails for Boise State and San Diego State. Boise currently 1.5-point underdogs, total 136. As the emails continue to
I
flood.
just want to,
Start.
if
I'll
I just
start.
want to, hey, look, I'm in at 56% this year. I don't know where to put the chips, obviously. So like, but if I can just carve out 56% a year, I can quit my stupid monkey job and just do this full time, right?
You might be able to, as long as you could figure out ways to make sure that you don't get limited by good old Bet365 or whatever sportsbook that realizes when people actually know how to gamble, they suddenly get their limits cut to $30. Thank you, Bovada.
Good point. Good point. I hope to see the day where that happens. So San Diego State just 2-8, Griffin, 2-8 against the spread at the Viejas Center. They haven't covered in 6 of the last 7 overall. They've lost the big ones at home. Gonzaga was earlier on the season, but they weren't very competitive in that game. Lost to Utah State at home, lost to UNLV at home, and then had very narrow wins over San Jose State and Wyoming at home. Wyoming's shown a little bit of fight, though. I think they're going to be really good in the future. I'm a big fan of Sundance Wicks. They took New Mexico down to the wire, I think, on Wednesday night, was it?
Sundance, quite a
Maybe it was last night. It was last
quite a fitting name for a Wyoming player.
I need to read his background. I don't understand the name because he's not Indian.
Well, sometimes people just open an encyclopedia, close their eyes, put their finger down, and that's how Lawyer Malloy got named.
Sometimes some guy leaves one school and you fill it with a full-time radio host that doesn't care about coaching college basketball.
Welcome to college basketball in the year of our Lord 2025. I'm so excited for the JUCO circuit to really I guess fester and turn into another AAU version of college basketball moving forward, because those are the teams I want to bet against. Anyway, back to Boise State, 1.5-point underdogs on the road to San Diego State. Totals 136. Are you saying this number is all built on San Diego State's past and not their present?
Well, I don't think the San Diego State team's very good. I don't think this Boise State team is very good. Both these teams expected to be 1-2 in the Mountain West this year, and it has not worked out that way. Here's why I think, Griffin, not only San Diego State's ineptitude at home this season, here's why I also think Boise State can win. They win this game at the foul line. They are 37 in the country in free throw attempts, number 2 in the Mountain West. They shoot them at nearly 80%, 76% on the road. San Diego State cannot play defense without fouling. They are 304th in the country in giving up free throws, at 38.6% free throw attempts over field goal attempts. And that number has jumped to 43% in Mountain West play. There's no discernible difference. Like they're getting screwed on the road with an unfriendly whistle. The number is basically the same at the Viejas Center as it is on the road. I also like Boise's ability to crash the glass. They have a pretty strong offensive rebounding team with Degenhart and Omar Stanley.
Degenhart. Degenhart would be very appropriate for a college basketball betting podcast, though. So I'm calling it Degenhart from now on.
I'm a fanatical guy. Yeah. I read it like I see it.
AJ Maldives, how are you doing?
Lisa Rosario. That one wasn't even close.
Oh, I mean, that could be a name.
And then
I bet Lisa Rosario is really getting piped out by Washington tight ends. Oh, wait. Jeremy Stevens.
Hope Solo?
Well, before he got to Hope, maybe during, maybe at the same time. I don't know.
We'll take that. Well, that's part of our other podcast.
That's a little inside baseball, and hopefully no one actually listens to this podcast.
Team rounds.
That might get in trouble. Yeah.
So I also like Boise State's ability to crash the glass. Omar Stanley is also a great offensive rebounder. I think they'll push around real thin. Magoon Guaf, and to a lesser extent, Farrell Compton, kind of undersized, but he's a beast. But I like Boise's chances here. I'm gonna go with the Broncos.
Yeah, I can't leave the memories of Kawhi Leonard and the board man gets paid way back when from UC Riverside, or actually Riverside, California, and building this program. I would agree, though. San Diego State away from home is a team I like to fade because I don't think they could score. I mean, the offensive quote unquote display from a couple Saturdays ago against Colorado State was literally hilarious. But I think at home, if San Diego State can't do it here, then I'm for real just going to look to bet against them every time they go away from home, because they still get a lot of respect from the marketplace. And I'll ride with the market on that one. I'll go against Big East Ben. He's grabbing Boise State plus 1.5. I'll lay the 1.5 with San Diego State. All right, we'll move next to a longtime Big 12 rivalry. We go to Houston, and they're visiting Arizona. Where the hell is this number? There it is. Houston, 1.5-point favorites at Arizona. Totals 138.
So I was shocked that I was doing a deep dive into Arizona numbers. And I was shocked to see a Caleb Love team is right now 288th in the country in 3-point attempts. The
Mm.
Arizona Wildcats are. I wasn't shocked that a Caleb Love team is 276th in the country in 3-point percentage.
Mm.
Um, Arizona completely relying on getting their points from the interior, 43rd in the country in 2-point distribution. Houston is an elite 2-point defensive unit. They are third, count them third in the country in 2-point field goal percentage. It is tough to score on Jawan Roberts, probably the scariest guy in college basketball.
Oh yeah.
Um, Houston also forces a lot of turnovers. Zona turned the ball over on almost 17% of possessions. Again, that's what you get with your Caleb Love. And I also like Houston's ability to crash the glass in this one. You know, Visir,
Sorry, Henry whatever.
Vassar, whatever.
Henry Finland.
7-2, not a great defensive rebounder, though. Houston's an excellent offensive rebounding team. I know they shouldn't have won that one in Lawrence, Kansas, but they did. They've already proven their mettle on the road. I like the Cougars here. I keep trying to sell high on Arizona. The sell high spot gets better and better with every win. So hopefully it happens this week.
Well, it didn't work out so
Oh,
well.
well, but they lost in Kansas State.
Octagon of
The
Doom.
hottest team in college basketball. They might make the tournament.
Yeah, from I think they might be one game over 500 now in the season, but
But they're like 5-5 in quad one games, I
if
heard.
they win, I mean, compared to like the UNCs of the world, they're like 1-11 in quad one games. The problem is a lot of those quad ones are going to change, and we'll see what the stats look like as we actually get to the resume season.
Shout
But
out to this girl in my neighborhood. This was before the Arizona game, walking around with a Kansas State shirt. And I was walking my dog and I said, "Hey, great win on Saturday against the Jayhawks." She said, yeah. And I said, "Yeah, Kansas State plus 4.5." And she said, okay. And just had no idea what I was talking about.
did you then throw
Probably got the shirt at Salvation Army.
did you throw one of these at her?
No.
Every man a Wildcat.
I
Yeah.
don't know. That could be a risky maneuver for a guy on the
Don't worry.
street to do to a single female.
Well, everyone knows that you have found monogamy. That is the Big East Ben quote, like history of quotes go. Probably the best one. Top of that's on the Mount Rushmore for sure. I'm pretty interested in Arizona at home. That's surprise, surprise. Record skips, blah blah blah. They lost at home to Duke way back when as a slight favorite. Didn't love that. The performance against Iowa State, the Caleb Love miracle cover. Well, I guess three-pointer to send it to overtime, and then he made a bunch of shots in OT as well against the grain. All those sort of things add up in a direction that makes me think Arizona's worth backing at home because they can't. But I'm still waiting for a good performance because neither of those were good, and those are pretty much the best teams that have come in to Tucson this year. This is a big
Texas
test.
Tech.
Huh?
They beat Tech too.
Beating Tech certainly helped. I just like I guess maybe I need to change my kind of thought process on Texas Tech, but those were the top two, I guess. I mean, maybe Tech's better than Iowa State at this point. Certainly with Momcilovic hurt and Tatum Lipsey playing through a banged up thumb or whatever it was. I mean, there's a lot of things that can. So maybe that's their best, and maybe that's them rounding to form. I still feel like Houston, the only place you can get them really is away from home. So. I'll take Arizona as a slight underdog, 1.5 points right now. And what should be an early start, which I don't love, I got to say. I would rather have it be one of those crazy night games, but that didn't work for the Duke matchup. So maybe I'm dreaming for things that don't need to happen. Stick with us. We got two more games left to go.
Quick side note on Iowa State.
Yeah.
Side game, free play, tickler play. Hosting Cincinnati this weekend, 12.5 point favorites, but the total is at 137.5. I'd like to remind everyone Cincinnati overs are now 3-0 since I had the conversation with the guy at my gym about what a lock Cincinnati unders were hit last weekend against Utah. So just keep that out. I will probably be playing over 137.5 in that game.
My concern is an 11-point favorite. You might not see the fouling at the end, but maybe West.
They don't need fouling. They just blow right through it.
Maybe so. I don't know how Cincinnati's gonna score a lot of points, but neither does the guy at the gym. We'll move on now to Michigan State. They are visiting Illinois, 6-point underdogs with a total of 157. If you go, the math from Tuesday versus the math from today, Michigan State is 1 point better than UCLA.
Got it. So I was doing, go running the numbers on this game, and I was all set to back the number. I was all set to back the under. Um, it was Illinois sucks at threes, shoots a lot of them. Michigan State's number one in three-point defense. Illinois has a bad three-point D, but Michigan State can't shoot them. Michigan State relying on the two ball. Illinois has a good two-point defense. Illinois doesn't shoot free throws. Michigan State, it all canceled out. And I was already bet the under. But then I remember these two teams played each other earlier in the season in East Lansing.
Yeah.
Illinois only lost by 2. So if you thought, Illinois lost by 2, they must have had an amazing game from Casper Yakachones, KJ or whatever his name is. He must have went off to keep them in that game, Griffin, right?
Right.
3 points, 3 shots. He fouled out in 8 minutes. And if you remember that game, they were absolute horse shit calls. Shout out Murphy Mush. I think he's our big Illinois fan who tweets at us. He can probably attest to that. That was horseshit. And they stuck with it, Michigan State. I don't think Michigan State's very good. This is not a great Izzo team. I know he's, still trying to pass Bobby Knight for most wins in Big Ten. He couldn't get it done in Bloomington, and I don't think he's going to get it done for a while. Illinois, Purdue at home, at Michigan, at Maryland, Wisconsin at home. It's a very hard schedule for Michigan State. I think Illinois eviscerates them in this game. I'm going Illini -5.5. -5.5.
6. And that
6.
game,
I'll take 6.
that loss to Indiana was at home, actually, of all things.
That was at home, even more embarrassing. Because
Yeah,
Indiana went to a zone defense and Michigan State forgot how to play basketball because they have no three-point shot. Brad Underwood, if he's smart, he's a pretty good coach. Just do the same, dude.
Yeah, he used the zone a lot at Oklahoma State in his one season there where they lowballed him when they tried to give him an extension. So he said, F you guys, I'm going to Champaign where I can drink more of it because they're going to pay me more. I think I'm anti both these teams at this point still, but more anti Michigan State. I don't love laying 6 points, I got to say, but I'll do it here. I thought UCLA played really well in the second half. Good to end the first half as well to kind of hang in a game that they could have easily folded. I feel like Michigan State would fold in that scenario. So I'll lay the 6 points with Illinois with you. Last game on our list before we get to a promo code and our best bets. We're going to go out to the Plains. Well, a little bit, I guess, west of the Plains. We're going to T-Town, Titletown. Get some yellow hammers at Galette's. Just make sure you get a wristband before you go into the game because the line will be 5 hours afterwards. Learned that from personal experience. But we have Auburn and Alabama, a battle of the Iron Bowl, but actually the sport that these two teams are actually good at, which seems to be basketball now. Currently, Alabama 2.5-point favorites at home in Tuscaloosa, totals 172.
It's a game of the year in college basketball, 1 versus 2, number 1 offense versus number 2 offense per KenPom. I think we both agree Auburn is the most talented team, though, with probably the most talented player. Would you agree?
You're forgetting about Mark Sears. Yes, I agree.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't forgetting about him. Alabama only 6-5 against the spread here in Tuscaloosa. They really also have not faced a very high caliber SEC schedules thus far. They haven't played Auburn. They haven't played Florida. They haven't played Tennessee. So I would be wary to play the short home favorite, which I can already tell you will be. So I'm going to go under.
Why do you say that?
I'm going to go under 172.5 in this game. The under is 7-3 in Alabama home games this year. That's a lot of points when the number 17 defense is coming to town. And on the other end, I think Cliff Omari can do a good job on Janai Broom. hey, Alabama has a great shot to win this game, knock off Auburn, especially, but Auburn is coming, bounce back game after that demolition at the hands of the Gators. So I think under is the safe play in this one.
Yeah, it's certainly a big total. And I just wonder in terms of tempo for this game. Auburn, we know that I mean, they used to be a pressing team that doesn't seem to do it anymore, which is most interesting to me that they could still be so highly rated. And so, I mean, yes, they have a lot of talent. They got Ton Pettiford, who never would have left Newark, New Jersey, or wherever he was in the tri-state area to then go to the plains of Auburn, Alabama. That would never happen until NIL or until the program turned around. But to me, I feel like we know the Alabama game plan, which is threes and layups or at the rim shots, which is usually they just drive and try to get to the rim and will pass it out for 3-point shots, rinse, wash, repeat over and over again. If you're playing under 172, I'm assuming that you're expecting a low turnover game. Auburn doesn't force many. Alabama to run that style, but ultimately not get as much success at the rim. So they're shooting a lot of threes, volume style, and they go in at a lower percentage. I mean, I guess they don't make them at a very high clip anyway.
No.
Are you just expecting? Because like for me, this rivalry series has been home team blowouts. I feel like for years and years and years. That might have been changing more recently as the teams were kind of higher tier. But I mean, to me, Auburn deserves a ton of respect. Of course, they're so talented, and Broom is awesome. But I feel like 2.5-point favorites. Is it that the market can't make Auburn a bigger underdog because they'll just get smashed with Auburn money? Because to me, it's still analytical profiles that are making these spreads. It doesn't really consider essentially you open what the Ken Palm number is if you're a sports book, and then you let the money that comes in push the number around. Do you have an opinion on that, or does that make you feel a certain sort of way when I say that aloud? Because I mean, yes, as you kind of hinted, I'm going with the home team here. I'll
Yeah,
do an
I
half
mean,
point with Alabama.
yeah, I mean, what happened? Let's just look this up because last year both teams were the 4 or 5 seed line. They weren't elite. The year
Well,
before that, Alabama was 1 seed with their murderer
yeah,
or
yeah,
accomplice
yeah.
star player.
The getaway driver, the limo driver. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah, the plug. So they beat
The gun.
Auburn at home in overtime in that year, and then they won by 8 in Auburn. So, but last year was that big one of those games. Remember the lights went out and they played like the first 2 minutes with like no light. There's just another red glow. Um, so
That's
yeah,
usually
I mean,
that's usually when I play overs. What happens? It's a
yeah. So I just given that like both teams are elite, Auburn more so than Alabama. I think it's gonna be a tight game, and I don't know. I just think big game, guys are tight. Um, there's gonna be some missed shots there.
Auburn is more elite. I mean, I feel
I just
like
rated offense in Ken Palm history, dude. What are you talking about?
well, what I see and what I saw in their win and to me narrow cover on the road at Ole Miss when Sean Padula was taking them to the rack over and over and over again. Not something I ever expected to say in the year of our Lord 2025. Um, but Auburn was just making every clutch three that was given to them. Not even given to them. They were just creating and making some incredible shots that I never really would expect them to make. If they're going to continue to do that, like they will beat everybody and they deserve to be the best Ken Palm offense in history. I don't think that's going to continue to happen. I just feel like they're I think more limited in this show. Jani Broom is awesome, but Alabama's got plenty of bigs to throw. So many bigs that they like got rid of some good ones that moved on to other programs like Waggy to Oklahoma and Pringle to South Carolina. But I'll lay the 2.5 points on Alabama in this matchup. That brings us to the end of our episode, but stick around as we have best bets coming, plus a promo code to save you some money at pregame.com as soon as I can find that. It's one of my millions of minimized windows. Okay, we are here. We have it. Save $25, 25 doll hairs on a rest of season college basketball or any sort of basketball subscription. I guess it's excuse me, it's college basketball specifically. Available now for only $1.99. Well, use the promo code SLAM25 and you can save $25 and only pay $174 for every college basketball pick from your favorite pro, like Big East Ben, like myself, Griffin Warner, throughout the rest of March Madness and the Final Four. And make sure you get in on Big East Ben as he went undefeated in last year's NCAA tournament. Going to try to keep that going / do that again. Use the promo code SLAM25, SLAM, Sam, Larry, Apple, Mary 25 and save $25, reducing your season access subscription down from $199 to $174. Good for 7 days from the podcast release, so you have until the 21st of February. At Big East Ben, where are you going for your best bet on this episode? And before we get there, I want to lead us in with our records, just so everyone knows. We are 22-13, 63% year to date. Big East Ben, 11-7, 61%. What do you got?
We are going to Dallas. You ever been there?
I'm currently recording from right in DLLASS, and it is ACC country.
We are going to Dallas, Texas. SMU hosts Wake Forest as 5.5-point favorites. All SMU does is murder bad ACC teams at home. They beat Pitt by 20 earlier in the week. They beat Stanford by 24, Cal by 11. They killed Georgia Tech by 22. All they do is murder bad ACC teams at home. Wake Forest is a bad ACC team. They were making a little bit of run there for a bit, but then had an absolute devastating loss to Florida State, where they were up 20-something points most of the game. I didn't realize they had lost till hours afterwards because I was tuned out. And that's very hard to come back from. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of finger pointing all week in practice. And just analytically wise, Griffin, SMU, Andy Enfield, he loves to throw a zone. They got those two big guys, 7-footers, foreign guys that anchor the zone.
I would love to hear you pronounce the Turkish guy's name.
Samet Yigitulu, and then Johan Traore.
Ah.
Is that guy related to the Cito Hall? Is it Traore? I wonder if they're related.
Dude, there's 40 Traores. There's
Traore.
There's one
Cito
for
Hall
URI.
Traore might be the worst player in Division One.
There's one for URI. There's Fousseyni Traore from BYU. That's 4 Traores you've already thought of. So there's a lot of Traores out there. Plus the 400 I watch in French Ligue 1 every weekend.
So how do you beat his own Griffin? 3-point shooting. Wake Forest. You ready for this? 348th in the country in 3-point percentage. That's right, folks. They are better than, I think, 17 teams in the country at 3-point shooting.
Might be 7. I think that's bottom 2 percentile. So
yeah. So hammer
like my results on the CFA exam.
Hammer the Mustangs in this one. SMU -5.5.
Also, a little nugget. A certain point guard for SMU played for Wake Forest last year. Boopy Miller.
Boopy Miller revenge game. Good point.
There we go. Add more. Throw some more on that cherry on top. For my best bet, I'm going off the grid, trying to get the streak going back again. Actually, probably should shout out my record because it's still 1/2 game ahead of Big East Ben. 11-6, 65%. As a podcast, though, over 60% for entire college basketball season when we had to diagnose who the heck was even playing for the first few episodes, I think is pretty good. But we'll try to improve on this. 11-6, 65% year to date. I'm going to go with the Furman Paladins, 2-point favorites. Again, baby. I mean, why jump off the all dins all the time train right now? They're playing not in their home stadium, which I mistakenly thought was already built. That's still being done. But UNC Greensboro comes in. I think they're getting too much respect. Furman has not been loved by the market as of late, but slight home favorite on the all dins that ended the Tony Bennett era. I love it, and I'm going to be here forever. And well, I guess that was 2 years ago, but still. Ended the NCAA tournament era of Tony Bennett because he didn't make it out of the first 4.
What was the
fashion?
What was the Kevin Harlan line? Did we just see what we just saw?
I don't know. I think he was saying Kihei Clark didn't save you on that one. But all I know is Furman 2-point favorites at home to Greensboro. We'll get you there. Join it with 7.5-point favorite SMU for Big East Ben's best bet.
5.5. It didn't jump to 7, did it?
7.5 right now.
It opened at 7. What the fuck is going on in my book?
Well, I'm seeing 7.5 as I'm currently saying.
Jesus Christ, I should have jumped on that.
Well, it's all right because 5.5 to 7.5, that is the fouling range. And what you might see is I mean, based on that, seven teams worse in all of college basketball 3-point percentage. SMU murdering teams at home. Who cares about the points? 7.5 point favorites SMU, 2 point favorites Furman, and that'll do it for this episode of the Need for Seeds College Basketball Podcast. Big East Ben's got to get in the shower, wax his mustache, and get ready for his Valentine's Day date. I did mine last night and went horribly wrong, so we'll just figure out next year and try to do it all over again once I start practicing at Big East Ben's monogamy. Till then, we'll see you all on the Monday episode of Need for Seeds College Basketball Podcast presented by the pregame.com podcast network. And go make some money this weekend. No football, so you better tune in to us as we are heating up for March Madness. Going to do a ton of episodes as we get closer to the tournament. And I don't know, enjoy yourselves. Don't get too crazy. Make sure you I guess don't be a fool, wrap your tool. Or maybe if you see a girl who refuses to use condoms, then you got to decide, is that worth it or is it not worth it? Is it worth it, Big East Ben?
I'm surprised that side of the war took you back after the sacrilege you pulled in the first recently.
Well, as a sacrilegious individual who generally pays for his things with betting talk, I think the 34-year-old age range that potentially will have the child if it is conceived also is a huge red flag for me because I got no rights, no abilities, and I live in a state where there's no ability to handle these sort of things, if you know what I'm saying. So feels like in a life that I have built of myself, which is filled with risk, I found one I'm not willing to take. And on that,
Mexico's close.
what?
Mexico is close.
Yeah. Great idea.
Save some money.
I think I could save some money and I could totally convince a nurse to cross the border in search of remedies. But hopefully maybe they should cut this part out of the episode. But we're here. It's been done, and we still have some time left. So clearly, it's still recording. At Big East Ben, have a great date night. Say hello to your wife for me, and we'll be back with you on Monday for the next episode of the Need for Seeds College Basketball Podcast, presented by the Pregame.com Podcast Network.
Later.